Hey there, friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am so excited to share a card that I created using the Lattice Corner Cuts dies from Concord and Ninth. Now, I did the intro video for Concord and Ninth to introduce the Lattice Corner Cuts dies, and I showed off two cards. These cards were created in two different ways, and I'm going to kind of do a mashup of the two cards to show you a really fun technique and to create a card entirely using die cuts. Let's take a look. In my intro video, I started out with this card where I used the Lattice Corner Cuts die to cut out that corner, and then I backed it with a different color of cardstock. And I also showed you an inlay technique. And today I'm going to be focusing on this inlay. Now, the great thing about the inlay technique is that when you cut it from 4 different pieces of cardstock, you get 3 more backgrounds and all of the bits to create 3 more cards. So I'm going to be using this white panel, inserting Nectar, Watermelon, and Buttercup into all of these cutouts. The first thing I'm going to do is grab a folded card base. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is adhere our die cut panel onto our folded card base. And you'll want a nice fine tip glue bottle for this part because these lines are super thin. Okay, and then I'm going to put some more glue around the outside of the card panel here. Flip it over and line it up. I always start with the bottom just to make sure that's lined up properly. One thing to note that this does create a really cool tone on tone effect. So that white on white is really quite nice. But we want to create a pattern of color on the inside. So make sure that when you die cut the lattice corner out from any of your cardstock pieces that you save those extra bits because this is what you're going to use to fill in the inlay. The first thing I'm going to start off with are the squares, and I found it easiest to focus on one color first. So the squares, quite easy to grab those little bits, but remember that these tiny triangles are also half squares, so you want to put a little dot of adhesive in those too. And then it's all about working fast, getting your picking tool and getting those squares in as quickly as you can before your glue dries. If you don't like to work that fast under pressure, then go ahead and glue only half of them. But I find that this makes me move a little bit faster if I know that that glue is going to dry. And then I'm going to place my little itty bitty triangles where they belong. Okay, here I'm missing this last tiny little triangle and I cannot see it anywhere in my container, so it might have just gone astray. So I'm going to grab my die and show you how you can cut that out easily. I have this little sliver of nectar here, and what I'm going to do is just put the corner of the die cut onto that nectar cardstock and run it through my die cut machine. So that gave me the piece I needed to finish off the nectar bits. Next, I'm grabbing watermelon, one of my favorite Concord and Ninth colors, and I am going to do the middle section. And I do love the way this looks as it comes together. It really comes to life, this pattern, as you start inlaying all of your colors. Okay, now to these areas on the side. There's 5 of those. And these are all actually the same angle, so not too difficult. It's the ones on the bottom that can be tricky. Lastly, we're going to fill in with Buttercup on that large piece. And again, I'm going to wait to fill in those angles on the sides and the bottom until I have these larger pieces filled in. Okay, now for the sides, you'll notice that the ones on the right side the gaps on the right side are longer than the ones at the bottom. So I'm going to focus on those first. And then I'm going to go to the ones at the bottom. These are shorter, and you have two different directions on these. So be sure that you're getting them the right die cut for the right opening. And the last one will finish off that pattern. Look how fun that is. It's very summery and it's very vibrant and pretty. I just love it. And there's so many different possibilities when you inlay these shapes of color combinations that you can use. So let's finish off the card with the rest of the Lattice die cuts. I love the flowers in this die set, but before I put them on this card front, and we're going to protect that card front by moving it aside while we get a little inky here, I'm going to ink up the edges of these flowers. And I think that this adds a really beautiful touch to them, adds a little bit of dimension. So I'm using grapefruit here on the Nectar flowers. This one, because it's tone on tone, is going to have less of an impact, but you're still going to notice. And I'm going to do the same with my leaves using grasshopper ink. Before you grab your white card front, be sure your fingers are not inky. And then we can get our flowers in place. I want to figure out where my sentiment is going to go first. I really love navy blue. I use navy blue so much more than black. This is Midnight from Concord and 9th. I doubled this up for the thanks, and I also doubled up my shadow. So just placing that on that line just accentuates that diagonal, makes it look super pretty. And I think what I'll do here is kind of do some double and some not double. Before I put my centers on, I just want to figure out where everything is going to go. I really like that. So I'm going to go ahead and double up on these flowers first. And I'm just gluing them right in the center of the flower. Same as on the leaf, I am not gluing it all the way to the edges because I want to be able to pull up those edges to give them some dimension. I like to kind of use a spatula to get underneath of it and just pull it up like this. Same with the little flowers. You can kind of use the edges of your spatula to lift them, and this helps you from damaging the paper. And then while those are drying, we can add our centers. And this one's kind of tucked away here, so we're going to do one right over here. These Concord and 9 dewdrops are like a recent must-have for me. I really like what they add to a card. Just a little bit of shine without a contrasting color. That's what I like about it. And one more right here. And that is the finished card. Thanks so much for joining me as we use the Lattice corner cuts dies from Concord and Ninth to create a beautiful inlay pattern on our card front. I love that this die cut set also includes flowers and a sentiment, so it's a one-stop shop for creating a beautiful card. Be sure to check out all of the products that I used to create today's card in the video description below, and I hope you enjoy creating with this beautiful die set.